Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Thank you for joining us on yet another edition of MedFiles. This is the medical program that gives you an opportunity to learn about your health, learn about your body, and we go about that by asking you questions and getting a doctor or the relevant medical professional to answer your questions. So today we have Dr. Paul Wanjohi of Sky Medical Services, and he'll be answering your questions. Let's take a look.
Mine is about bleeding gums. What causes it? Nimetumia parodontax hizi zenye naona hapa. Do yangu inaenda to waste. So nataka kujua nini inaleta that infection. Nikibrush tu hivi, see that red coloring of your substance. So I don't know. Kienda usina kwa dawa zingine hazisaidii.
No, usiwe nakwambia nini? Usiwe nakwambia shida ni nini?
Ananiambia sijui what. Nikule carrots. So nimekula carrots za kutosha, bado sioni change. Yeah.
Bleeding gums, excessive carrot consumption that does not help.
Yes. Bleeding gums is actually a common condition. I'm sure at one time or another in our lives, most of us, once or twice, have had bleeding gums. The issue is if you have persistent chronic bleeding gums, then it means there is a problem. And the commonest cause of, because the commonest cause is actually not even nutritional, although there are certain nutritional issues which can predispose to bleeding gums. And one of them, a significant one, is vitamin C. If somebody is not taking enough vitamin C, then one of the symptoms can be bleeding gums. And vitamin C you find in citrus fruits, you know, your oranges, your apples, and the others. Carrots, well, it's more vitamin A, which is really not much of an issue with bleeding gums. That, having said that, the bigger cause of bleeding gums is about dental hygiene. It's an issue of dental hygiene. It's not really an issue of what the person is eating or not eating. And if somebody, and this has to do with your brushing habits, because if somebody is not brushing their teeth, or they're not brushing their teeth the way they're supposed to be brushing, then they can get something called periodontitis. Periodontitis, in simple terms, is if you don't brush your teeth, there's an accumulation of a very hard substance at the base of the teeth, between the tooth and the gum. Mm-hmm. It's called plaque or calculus. Kind of plaque, yeah. Now this plaque, when it accumulates, first of all, it's very irritating to the gum. So what happens? If you have this, you have a tooth and you have the plaque accumulating, the plaque irritates the gum, so the gum recedes. So after a while, somebody with periodontitis, they seem to have longer teeth because the gum has actually receded, you see. Yeah. The gum recedes, so the teeth actually become, because the gum holds the tooth, so the teeth start becoming loose, and sometimes they even fall off. The other thing is, because of the gum irritation, the gum becomes very sensitive. And when you brush, because it's actually inflamed, so when you brush around that area, it's irritated, so it usually bleeds easily. And also between the gum and the tooth, there is a pocket which, because of that persistent irritation, you can have an infection there, which, if it continues, it can predispose to further bleeding. As an additional problem. So when you have somebody who has a history of bleeding gums, first of all, they need to go and get checked. Do they have plaque accumulation? Because if plaque accumulation is there, it can't be removed by brushing. Once it's accumulated, no matter how many times you brush, it's not going to come out. It doesn't come out. It has to be removed physically by a dentist. They do something called scaling, where they actually physically remove it. They chip it off with a certain drill, and it comes out. And then once it comes off, then you remove the gums are not irritated anymore, and then you solve the problem.
Do the receded gums resume?
It depends,
position?
yeah. Usually they do if you get it early, but sometimes you might get it so late when somebody has already lost teeth. There's been a lot of something called remodeling. The bone structure has changed a bit, so you can try and do a bit of repair, yeah. But you don't want to reach there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So after some point, it's too late.
It becomes a much more work to bring back things, yeah. Much more
Things
work.
back to normal.
Yeah,
Okay.
much more work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yangu ni miguu, kuna miguu hata ukiosha zinatoa maji, zina sweat, unaelewa? Na zinatoa harufu, zinanuka, hata kama socks ni safi, viatu ni safi, bado zinanuka. What can someone do kwa miguu kama hizo? I have cousins wenye wako na miguu kama hizo, they sweat all over kwa miguu, hata kama kumenyesha, unaona? Kuna jua, they sweat. So what is the remedy? Yeah.
Smelly feet.
Okay.
This, I think, is a problem everyone has either had or had to deal with, because
Yeah.
sometimes you go to a place and you have to take off your shoes and you think, gosh, what's that? Whose shoes are those? and the interesting
Yeah.
thing is that this guy asks, why does that happen even when the socks are clean, the shoes are clean, everything is clean? Because this problem is associated with hygiene.
With the poor
But, yeah.
food hygiene.
But he talks about
Yeah.
socks are clean,
Yeah.
feet are clean, shoes are clean, everything is clean.
Everything is clean.
Yes.
Okay.
And he mentions excessive sweat on
Yes.
the feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it is a common issue.
Yeah.
We can look. First, I mean, we can start by asking ourselves, where does it come from? Usually, smelly feet. It starts with the sweat. You sweat because the feet perspire, they sweat. Now, sweat in itself doesn't smell. Actually, sweat has no smell because it's just water with the salts and a few other things. But on the skin, we have bacteria. And these bacteria are normal. They are normal occupants of our skin. They are called normal flora. They are there. I mean, they live with us. Now, when they sweat, these bacteria actually can grow in the sweat. They start becoming more and more and more. And they are able to break down certain things in the sweat. And the breakdown of some of those things now is what that releases the smell. Okay. So as you say, it starts with the sweat. And then from the sweat, you have bacteria. They break down certain things in the sweat, and you get the smell. You can start seeing that you might have clean feet. But then you sweat, and if the sweat stays here for too long, because even with clean feet, the bacteria invariably will be there. Then they break, then you actually sweat. So the main thing, one of the things that somebody can try to do, I mean, and we're talking about practical things here, is try to reduce the amount of sweat accumulation in your feet. And one of the things is what type of socks are you wearing? Because there are some socks which don't breathe, like socks which are made out of, as a constituent, nylon or polyester. They don't breathe.
Breathe, you mean?
Means that
Air passing in.
yeah, there's no air circulation, so the sock whatever. I mean, the foot is completely airtight, almost airtight in the sock. Yeah, so the sweat really accumulates. It has no air to even try and to evaporate and that kind of thing. Then the other thing that somebody can do is, in addition to, yeah, the shoes are clean, yes, but the advice is also you should rotate shoes. Because if you rotate shoes also, it actually makes it better. There's an element of foot hygiene that is very important, because if the foot hygiene is not there, then also you expect it to even be worse. There's something. I mean, there are people who sweat more than others. Sometimes it's genetic. There are people who generally they perspire more than other people, and in those kind of people, then this can become a significant issue. They can try so many things, but it's becoming an issue. And there's something which somebody can do. Baking soda. The plain baking soda that you use for baking for your mandazis at home, 4 pinches of baking soda. You put 2 pinches in the sock, and then you put 2 pinches of baking soda in the shoe. And that protects you. You don't, I mean, when you do that, the smell gets, I mean, you don't have so much of an issue with the smell effect.
What does the baking soda do? Absorb the sweat?
No, it doesn't absorb the sweat. It just creates a hostile environment for the bacteria.
Okay.
So you still sweat, but it doesn't smell so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see what you have to say next.
Okay, I was asking as in nini na kusenya mtu akikula food, the food doesn't last long kwa tumbo, ana keep on kwenda kwa choo, unaelewa, and then anakuwa thin, alafu akishakuwa thin ana appetite ya food, as in for him to eat analazimishwa kind of kitu kama hiyo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit of a strange one. Just to reiterate, he's talking about a situation where one eats and the food doesn't stay in the stomach.
Yes.
And this is a person who, he says, keeps, like, constantly goes to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So food doesn't stay in the system. So they invariably get thin and they don't have appetite.
Yes. Okay. That can happen if somebody has an infection, or somebody could have acquired an infection which is affecting their tummy. And one of the things, there are some infections which, the ones that you know would cause acute diarrhea, but you have certain infections where you're not even really talking about diarrhea as you know it. Yeah, sometimes you get a bit of loose stool, sometimes the stools have a bit of mucus, but you are getting some sort of diarrhea because you're passing stools more often, number one. And when that happens, one of the things that the person needs to do is to have the stool checked to rule out a possible chronic persisting infection which is making that happen, because it does, that happens with infections. The other thing is sometimes you can have intolerances to certain foods. There are people who have intolerance to milk. When they take milk, they have lactose intolerance. Yeah, there are people who might have certain intolerances to certain particular foods, which cause certain reactions in the intestines, and they go more often. There are people who, we have talked about intolerance, but there are people who might have certain food allergies, which cause the same kind of symptoms. Yes.
So this is somebody who definitely needs to
be seen.
See a doctor.
That's true.
Okay. Well, that's all we had for you today. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us next time for more questions and more answers. I have been your host, Marianne Bogo. See you next time.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.